My name is Jaspreet Kaur, and I'm a co-op student at the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture. We have Tanisha Singh with us here today, who is a co-op student at Mackenzie Investments, and Navneet Singh, who is a co-op student at CIBC. Together, we are MBA candidates at Wilfrid Laurier University, and we will be the facilitators of today's event. So Private 5G for Connected Industries and Automation, hosted by Testoper Community and sponsored by Wave Labs, SkillCore, and the City of Brampton. We have awesome speakers from IBM, Wave Labs, Facebook Connectivity, Magma Core Foundation, and CanWIS. Thank you, Ishak, Father, Phil, and Jonathan for your efforts in helping us. We are looking forward to listening and learning insights from you on this topic.
Thanks. So today's agenda will begin with governance and logistics, followed by Kader from Wave Labs presenting 5G and private wireless, the major opportunities for the individuals to skill up and innovation up, and we'll also do the honors of launching Decoding 5G Zone. After that, Phil from Magma Core Foundation will introduce Magma Open Mobile Core, the brain of your mobile network that connects people to the faster internet and also contributes to the community. Then we will provide a quick intro about Testoper Community in Brampton Innovation District, followed by Ashek from IBM, who will provide insight on how edge computing enables 5G and AI. Jonathan will present a rural 5G fixed wireless access and wireless internet service provider market in Canada. And at noon, we will close the main part of the meetup and open the floor for 5G techies to network, learn how to join the community, see demo, work collaboratively to plan next steps for skill up and innovation up on 5G.
Hey, thanks, Nabi. So before we begin, I will go over some governance and logistics. So to ensure a great user experience for all, we do kindly request that everyone please mute your video as well as your audio throughout the session. You may ask any questions that you have in the chat window. We also highly recommend that you copy both the survey as well as the Teams meetup link to your computer notepad or any other accessible location so that you can join the meetup easily in case of any technical difficulties. So for legal purposes, I am going to read some disclaimers. So number one, Testoper Community reserves the right to use any photographs, videos, content that is taken, recorded, or shared with Testoper at any programs or events. Testoper Community takes the protection of your personal information very seriously, treats it with confidentiality, and will only be used for communication-related activities. And number three, Testoper Community provides a platform to connect, develop, launch, and advance individuals and companies through various programs. However, we do not assume responsibility of the outcomes such as getting a job or any other business transactions. Number four, finally, if you are sharing information or materials that are related directly or indirectly to the company you work for, we assumed you have the right to do so. In other words, we are not responsible for breach of confidentiality of your company related information. And one of the main questions we usually get is whether we can share the link to the presentation. The answer is yes, but you need to have access to the Testoper Community Teams channel. So please feel free to send a request to join the community at programs@testoper.com.
Thanks, Tanisha. I am privileged to now introduce Father Khan, a visionary, a dynamic professional with more than 23 years of industry experience. As a senior vice president at Wave Labs, he leads the connectivity and industry 4.0 practice with global responsibility for strategy, business, partnership, and engineering. He also oversees the company's ongoing expansion efforts into the Canadian market. Most of you might already know. For those who do not know Father, he is passionate about continuous and lifelong learning, future skills and innovation, and entrepreneurship. He gives back selflessly by leading, supporting, speaking, mentoring, and advising in various areas for impact tech communities, startups, innovation labs, and industry events. We are thankful to have him as one of the lead volunteers in the Testoper community. Father, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Tanisha. Just want to make sure that you all can hear me well.
Yes.
Okay. I kindly request the attendees and also the speakers to go on mute just to make sure there's no background noise. I'm hearing some background noise, please. or the operations volunteer team, if you can see and mute, I would really appreciate it. Yep, it's all good. Thank you very much. Tanisha, I'm really thankful for your detailed introduction. Happy to be here and privileged to be supporting as a lead volunteer for the great cause Testoper community is after. I know it's always a challenging when you have to go first. I have friends and fellow speakers who's going to talk about the 5G infrastructure, talk about different applications and use cases, as well as the market dynamics. So I have a responsibility to make sure that I set the foundation really strong for them to continue the flow and the storyline. And also I've been asked by the Testoper community to do the honor of launching Decoding 5G Zone, a unique initiative to upskill the individuals. So I got to also plan the story accordingly. So I kind of thought about it and decided to come up with the topic 5G and private wireless, the major opportunities today and tomorrow. And that's what I'm going to talk, which will kind of set the foundation for rest of the flow of this meetup. So what I'm going to do is in next 15 to 20 minutes, I would like to share and of course learn, which is what the Testoper community is all about. In this meetup, the evolution of mobile networks from 1G to now 5G, and also a little bit touch upon the future 6G and its impact on connected industries, other technologies such as AI, AR, use cases, and most importantly, I would be pivoting a little bit away from the technology to kind of share how important it is for an individual to upskill and the opportunity for all of us. So let's get started. This particular diagram, I'm pretty sure you have seen this multiple times. It basically explains the revolution of connected industry from 1.0 to 4.0. If you look at the early days in the first revolution, we started our journey into the world of machines that advanced agriculture and handicrafts industry. That's what happened in the first revolution. And in the second revolution, we started using electricity for mass production. And in the third revolution, computers and automation started to appear. In fact, early days in third revolution, most of the communications that we did, that's between human to human and machine to machine, leveraged wired communication technology. Around 1980s, mobile communication started to appear. Wired communication or mobile communication. What we did, and we all mostly used this for business-driven communications. As an example, voice calls, sending emails, and so on. The technology that were available during the third industry era helped the growth of many service businesses and industries like finance and media. Today, we live in the era of Industry 4.0. The number of technological innovations are at our disposal today. You name it, from robotics to IoT, AI, and all these technologies are enabling us to create a smarter world and start delivering real business benefits to all industries far and wide. To make it all work, what is important is that we require a high-performing communication technology that not only delivers the business-driven communication, but also business-critical communication. What I mean by business-critical communication is a communication infrastructure that allows or enables identifying and resolving automatically the downtime in mining and factories. That's a good example. And also, not only that, right? Not only the business critical communications, but also mission critical communications that helps to keep us all alive, right? Pretty much, like, for example, train control, public safety services, among others, are the good examples. And I strongly believe 5G communication technology will play a critical role in Industry 4.0. So this is a slide that explains an evolution from the mobile networks point of view. Before I start deep dive into 5G, I thought I'll just have a quick look at earlier generation of mobile technologies. So if you look at this slide, starting from the left, 1G enabled voice communication for all of us. 2G, text and basic data services. We were able to browse internet, but it was quite slow. 3G provided us with better broadband experience, and 4G is the one which gave us a true broadband experience. We were able to watch videos and so on. If you look at from 1G through 4G technologies, they really served well to connect humans as well as humans to contents. Fast forward, if you think about it, connecting things and machine became imperative to enable lots of new business opportunities for vertical industries like automotive, healthcare, and manufacturing. So what we did at that time was we tried to stretch the existing technologies like 2G, 3G, and 4G to solve some of the problems by adding some extended features. For example, in 4G technologies like cellular IoT, you all know, it's also called as NB-IoT, LTE-M. And we introduced features, cups, which kind of allows us to put the user plane network elements closer to the users to provide the latency requirements that some of the applications require. We did multiple things, right, to really address few of the use cases, but was not good enough. So here comes 5G. From my view, I call it as a wireless communication for connected industries. I'll explain why. So the difference between the earlier technologies 1G to 4G compared to 5G is that unlike previous generation technologies, 5G is designed ground up to support natively variety of connected industry applications. If you see through 5G technology point of view, all the connected industry applications can be grouped under three major 5G use cases. First one is called enhanced mobile broadband, designed to support up to 10 Gbps throughput. The connected industry applications like CCTV, video offload transfer, remote maintenance, and many others can benefit from this high throughput use case that 5G supports. And the second one is ultra reliable and low latency communication, often referred as URLLC, designed to support as low as 1 millisecond latency. Such low latency network performance are critical for industry applications, as an example like mobile robots, self-driving vehicles, remote surgery, and so on. And the third use case is called massive machine type communication, that is under work starting 2021, expected to complete by 2023, is expected to support connecting up to 1 million IoT devices per square meter. It is must have for applications like street lighting, security, and other applications normally requires or uses massive number of sensors. So I kind of gave the big picture of Industry 4.0 evolution, as well as the evolution of 1G to 5G, how they both are connected, and when mobile communication started to bring benefits into different industries. Now what I wanted to really do is deep dive a little bit more into understanding the enterprise network point of view. If you look at this diagram in the left, in a service industries, an office setup such as finance or education, right? It normally has two domains. The first one is private IT domain that manages all our workstations like computers, data centers, and applications that run on the on-premise data center within that office. And then it connects to a public domain to access internet and other applications that run on the public data center, also known as cloud. So that's what happens in a typical office setup. You have this IT domain as well as the public domain. If you look at the enterprise as an example, a manufacturing industry enterprise, in addition to the IT and public domain, it also has operations technology domain. It is nothing but a factory floor where goods are manufactured that are typically has sensors, actuators, robots, machines, Not only that, but also different applications that manages these sensors, actuators, machines, and robots. I'll give you some examples. You might have heard of these, right? Manufacturing Execution System, MECs, Programming Logical Controllers, PLCs. The other example is Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition, SCADA systems. So those are the systems that manages all these different sensors, actuators that are typically in this factory floor. By design, if you think about it, the OT domain is closed and isolated from other domains, even IT and public domains. Obviously, to ensure its security, right? Because if you think about it, a manufacturing enterprise cannot afford any downtime whatsoever that may result in loss of revenue. That's the key reason they try to secure it and keep it isolated. If you look at in the past, the communication network used in the OT domain was always wired communication technologies. Depending upon different use cases and performance requirements, such as latency, capacity, and many others, different types of wired communication technologies were used. I'll give you some examples. You might have heard of these, right? Like Ethernet IP, Modbus TCP, Profinet, EtherCAT, and others. But if you look at it, however, the advancement that's happening from the technological front, innovation that's happening on the technological front, we all know that wired technologies are reaching limits. And importantly, can't connect the things that move. So going wireless is the only option. Again, the choice of which wireless technology depends on the use case. If you see the picture in the right bottom, I captured the picture from McKinsey, just to kind of explain that why the choice of which wireless technology depends on the use case. If let's say if the requirement for an enterprise is only speed, Wi-Fi technology is good enough. But if it is for latency, higher range or massive connections with number of IoT devices, then probably 5G is the best choice. Double click and deep dive, right? A little bit more from the network point of view. So we know that industry, industrial enterprise landscape, and in the OT domain, you need to have some kind of a communication medium. Now, for this particular slide's explanation, I'm going to assume the enterprise decided to go with 5G network. Let me also explain at a very high level, the 5G network comprises of devices like phones, sensors, and so on, that connects to the RAN network, which is a radio access network, that further connects to the core network and then to the public domain where all the applications, the internet and cloud applications and so on, public applications that you can access. And of course, there is also an underlay network, which is a transport network that kind of connects RAN network to the applications. In 5G, sometimes it's classified and called as front haul, mid haul, and back haul. So that's how the 5G network is kind of at a very high level comprises of. Now, having said that, if enterprise wants to deploy a private network, they have 4 choices. So first one is they can deploy the private network 100% owned by the enterprise, and all these network elements that I explained, everything will be owned by the enterprise. To address some of the use cases that has to be really highly secure use cases. And the second deployment option they can choose is the shared RAN with public service provider. When I say public service provider, you can assume some of the providers like, in Canada, Rogers, Bell, and so on, right? So they can decide to have a shared RAN, but rest of the network elements, they would like to keep it private to themselves. That's the second option that you see in the second picture from the left. And the third option is they can have a shared RAN and core network, in this case, control plane only. They like to keep the user plane in this particular deployment model within their industrial premises because of the latency reason. But nevertheless, because the control plane is shared with the public service provider, In this case, most of the time, the public service provider owns the subscriber and device authentication details and so on. And the last option is 5G private network, 100% provided by the service provider. This option is feasible in the 5G technology because of a feature called network slice. The operator with this feature is able to provide different network slice with dedicated network resources complying to a dedicated SLA for different industries. So far, what I tried to do is kind of explained about in and around about network. I wanted to a little bit change the gear. I wanted to address the importance of application. So the message I wanted to give here is that private network is not only just about deploying it, right? It is also about provisioning it, configuring it with subscribers and devices that it serves. And also it has to be managed, meaning kind of operate, it has to be managed, like operated, assured, secured, and orchestrated, and even automated in a way there is no manual intervention is required. I mean, why to avoid manual intervention is because of the complexity. Imagine millions of devices that the network is managing. I mean, it's simply not possible to manage it manually. In industry, it is normally referred as sometimes 0x networks. X stands for zero weight, zero touch, zero trouble. And also in industry, sometimes it's referred as self-X networks, sometimes called as self-serving, self-fulfilling, and self-assurance. The key point here is it's not only about the network, right? There's going to be a number of other technologies that's going to help us to achieve that management and automation requirement of the network, such as analytics, artificial intelligence, in some cases, even augmented reality, virtual reality, and of course, cybersecurity and others. So the application also play a very critical role in the 5G technology, 5G networks, and also in the 5G private 5G networks. Now, likewise, if you think from the enterprise point of view, right? It's also, again, it's not only about deploying and managing the private networks. It is also about enabling several use cases, such as motion control, mobile robots, closed loop processes, and so on. Not only that, it is also about automating several areas, such as human machine interfaces, process, logistics, warehouse, monitoring and predictive maintenance, and so on. So, net, the message what I wanted to deliver today is that if the enterprise wants to best benefit from Industry 4.0, the combination of different technology, let be network or let be the use case that they wanted to achieve, will play a critical role in enabling several applications across several industries. Among all, the private 5G networks and enabling technologies such as edge computing and network aggregation, among others, will be the foundation to enable that several applications across several industries to deliver real business benefits. So we talked about network and we talked about applications. And if you kind of collate all the data that we discussed this morning and ask ourselves, what are we trying to achieve? I mean, we are trying to achieve a fully connected physical, digital, and human world. That's what we are trying to really achieve. Where the physical world is represented in high detail in the digital world. That is sometimes called digital twinning, where it can be analyzed and acted upon. Assume an IoT network that you digitize it using digital twin, and you are able to monitor that IoT network, sensors, actuators, everything out there, and you are able to analyze the data and act in case of any failures and so on. So that's what we are trying to achieve, right? Connecting the physical world to the digital world. Into this mix, we are also trying to bring human world attribute, such as immersive communication and cognition like human intentions, desires, and mood into the mix to achieve connected intelligence. Now, if you ask yourself, is the 5G technology good enough for all the use cases that brings physical, digital, and human world together? Maybe not, because some of the application requires really high capacity links, high throughput links with deterministic end-to-end latency than that of 5G offers. I mean, just for your information, I wanted to kind of share that there are lots of work ongoing in industry to stretch the 5G KPIs in all dimensions to meet the future requirement. And I'm pretty confident that we will start hearing many terms in future, 5.x, 4, 5, 6, 6G, and even next Gs. And in all these future evolution of network and communication technologies, it is envisioned more and more AI ML technology will play a very, very critical role. Well, that's future, right? Now I'd like to really talk about today and immediate tomorrow. I mean, the fact is 5G is a major opportunity for today and tomorrow for all of us. Double click into details. If you look at in the left, on 5G private network projects, it has doubled in the past year. And it is forecasted that the market size of 5G network will be $75 billion by 2030. So far now I kind of talked about Industry 4.0, networks, applications, and use cases. In this slide, I wanted to kind of pivot myself and focus about the shortage in skills and an opportunity for an individual. If you think about it, and also if I ask many of the leaders here, they will all agree with me that it is becoming really hard to find the right talent in this space. The message I like to deliver is that it is a great opportunity for an individual. From the career growth point of view, upskilling in 5G technology, I'm pretty sure that will take you a long way. In the past, if you 10 years rewind, right? I mean, the barrier to entry was really high in helping individuals to upskill on the similar mobile communication technologies like 2G, 3G, and so on. Only the profit organizations with adequate resources can do it. I'd like to share that good news, it's not anymore the case. Thanks to a number of open source initiatives like Magma Core Network and others, any organization such as nonprofit or even communities that people come together, or even individuals with less or no resources may help upskilling in end-to-end 5G technology. But when we did some research together with volunteers in Testoper community, we did not really see many out there, and in fact could not find many communities or nonprofit that is really helping to upskill on the 5G technology. So in Testoper community, we decided to take on this challenge to mitigate industry facing chronic 5G future skills and innovation shortages. We decided to take on the challenge to skill up and innovation up individuals to become part of 5G future workforce. On that note, today, I'm really honored, privileged, and happy to present you the Testoper nonprofit developer community's unique initiative, Decoding 5G.Zone. Thank you to volunteers and our supporters, Wavelabs, Brampton, Magma Core community, and Skillcore to make this a reality. Stay tuned to learn more about this initiative towards end of this meetup program and via future communications and engagement. That brings to the end of my presentation. I really hope that I set a foundation for my fellow speakers by covering the network aspects, applications, and use case aspects, as well as a little bit on the market aspects. And I also sincerely trust that I communicated the message, the importance of upskilling and the necessity of upskilling as an individual in this technology that can really help us with our career growth. I think it's also fair to talk a little bit about Wave Labs, the company that I work for. Wave Labs is an AI-first company for the digital, cognitive, and Industry 4.0 era. And in that company, I head connectivity and Industry 4.0 practice. We help our customers with three major transformations. We also call it as a journey. A digital journey, AI adoption, cognitive journey, as well as connectivity and Industry 4.0 journey. From the connectivity point of view, we help our customers to accelerate their adoption to the future connectivity by offering the unique blend of expertise that we have. That is the next generation digital, cognitive, and network technology expertise by providing technology services and technology solutions to our customers. If you are an equipment vendor, enterprise, service provider, or even the hyperscale requiring help with technology services and solutions on the connectivity domain, you know what to do. My coordinates here, feel free to reach out to me. I like to also take an opportunity to thank everyone for being such a wonderful audience and listening it to me. Tanisha, with that, I'd like to hand over